Hello and welcome back to Open, everyone. You know, always inviting you to get social with us. That's right. Tweet us at BronxNet TV, and while you're there, tweet me too at Rena Valentine. Love to hear from you. So our next guest is a psychotherapist working with women who have eating and body image problems, and she also uses her photographic vision as a photographer with her own photography business as a means of feminist celebration. And for the month of November, her work will be on display at Gallery 18 at the Riverdale Y, an exhibit called The Embodiment of Jewish Femininity. And the exhibit draws inspiration from both sides of her work. So joining us now to share, we welcome photographer Aviva Braun. Hello and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I love the topic. It's quite the topic online, I will say, via social media. And my question to you is, when we reference the term body positive, what exactly does that mean?
I think there's just so much out there today, social media, on the internet in general, that's not positive. And I think that there are a lot of websites today that are more body positive because we're trying to combat those negative images or negative websites. I think it's important to celebrate women's beauty in a way that focuses on the positives, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the reason I was asking you that particular question is because voluptuous women are the ones primarily using the hashtag body positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does that say to the women who are not voluptuous?
Good question. I think, right, there's some backlash now for women that are not in that category. They're starting to feel, well, what about us? And, why is this sort of more in the spotlight? I think we're just trying to kind of normalize body and sort of make it more like, a woman who's a size 8 or a size 10 is healthy and beautiful, and try to, I guess, go away from the extremes. There's a whole movement that was started called Healthy at Every Size, where, right, women talking about body positivity,
Mm-hmm.
women are on the, right, like more voluptuous, and we're trying to accept that more into mainstream culture.
Okay, so what kind of conversations do you have with the women that come to see you?
Well, I primarily treat eating disorders and women that have issues with their body image, and I think
when you say eating disorders, are we talking bulimia? Are we talking overeating, or is it both sides of the spectrum?
Anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, basically. I work with a lot of bulimics, binge eaters mainly, more on that end. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, no, I was just wondering what kind of conversations you have as a psychotherapist, and if this is something that you're visiting on a regular basis, and what type of, I guess, guidance or I guess remedies that you provide, because it really is all in the mind, and it's a weighing factor.
Right. I practice more from a feminist relational perspective, where I want women to learn how to live within their bodies. That's obviously where this exhibit kind of came about. For me, I think that it's not just all in the minds and in the behavior. I think it goes way back to earliest feeding experiences with mothers, mothers modeling positive body image for their daughters. And so we talk a lot about that in the sessions that I have with my clients, trying to instill these feelings of positivity when it's very hard, also because the culture we live in has, again, very negative images out there a lot of the time of women.
So do you find that it's different for Jewish women? Because I see that you're geared more towards the Jewish culture, religion.
I think that they might struggle with some different issues that maybe the mainstream culture doesn't necessarily tackle, but I think...
Does it have to do with the food?
I think it has to do with more so just, pressure, I guess, to sort of conform to a certain body type, a lot of times to attain a male for marriage, or, I think it might be embedded in the culture from Eastern European roots, where, eating in large quantities is sort of like what's enforced, but then trying to kind of balance both American culture and what, the background that they're coming from.
So what, in your images, what you're capturing is the essence of women now, here in New York.
Yes. primarily actually Riverdale residents.
Riverdale residents.
And they range in age from about, I would say the youngest was in the photo at the time about 1.5, and the oldest woman is about 82.
82. Is that the one that was in the dance studio?
Yes.
I looked at some of your images. And so what is your storytelling? Because I noticed that one of them was a doctor. I mean, not that I think that plays a role in the images themselves, but you captured certain types of women. So I was just curious, like, what your storytelling intention is.
I think, it took on a life of its own, honestly. I had, reached out to certain women that I either was connected to or knew of and kind of thought that they would be inspiring, and then sort of like we sat, we photographed, and then they wrote their narratives. Every woman wrote their own narrative.
And what I love about what I saw is that you show the nurturing side of each woman in some form or another. You captured that, but you also captured their strength.
Yeah, I wanted it to be very positive. I wanted there to be a message at the end that was positive. A lot of times, obviously all these women have not necessarily struggled with an eating issue. A lot of these women have very positive feelings about their bodies. But a lot of times the message about eating disorders out there can be very much like a war story or negative in the end. You don't feel sort of a sense of hope. And I kind of wanted this to be a very hopeful project.
And so body positive, in closing, just the whole concept, it's really about embracing who you are and just loving who you are and just basically working with yourself the best way that you can without beating yourself up.
Right. And that's what embodiment means, being able to live within your body, when today we're living in a culture that a lot of times will tell you, most of the time will tell you, do not feel comfortable within your own body. You need to change your body consistently. Getting those messages is difficult for women.
Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for sharing it with our viewers. So let's, before we go, let's share the exhibit information, because you're on, the reception is
on Sunday from 12 to 2 at the Riverdale Y, and it will be on display for about a month till the end of November.
Nice. Yeah. And the reception is from what time?
12 to 2.
12 to 2.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Aviva.
you.
Once again, you guys, check out the embodiment of Jewish femininity that is currently on display at Gallery 18 at the Riverdale Y, located on 5625 Arlington Avenue in the Bronx, and the reception is this Sunday. And for more information on Aviva and her work, you can check out vvbphotography.com. Right? Is it VV? Yes, vvbbee photography.com. Okay, we're taking a quick break, but coming up, we'll learn about a new comedy web series, Rhonda Mitchell, MD, so don't go anywhere.